Okay, let's dive in. There's some huge news shaking up the rail sector. A massive $72 billion deal just announced. We're talking about a merger that promises America's first truly transcontinental freight railroad.
That's right. Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern. Big news.
Exactly. Announced July 29th, 2025. Now, this feels historic, but maybe not in the way people think of the original transcontinental railroad. What's different here?
Well, that's the key distinction, isn't it? This is about freight.
Yeah.
Our mission today. Let's unpack this mega merger, look at those historical echoes, sure, but really focus on what it could mean for, the economy, for supply chains, for you.
All right, so July 29th, 2025. Union Pacific, mostly out west, Norfolk Southern, largely in the east, $72 billion in stock and cash.
Yeah.
Just staggering numbers.
It really is, and contextually, this is the largest deal ever in the freight rail sector, which is saying something because it's already super consolidated.
Yeah.
But the first part is what's really interesting. Since 1869, getting goods from, say, California to New York always meant handoffs.
Different companies, different tracks, basically.
Exactly. Different companies controlling different parts of the route. This merger aims to create one single company line coast to coast for freight. No more handoffs.
Okay. And just to clarify, Amtrak passenger trains often use these same freight lines, right? But this deal is purely about the freight side.
Precisely. Amtrak is passenger service, often on tracks owned by these freight giants. This merger is squarely focused on moving goods.
Which brings us to the economic side. Just how vital are these freight railroads? I mean, we see trucks on the highway all the time, but rail.
Oh, it's foundational. Absolutely critical. They move something like 30% of the nation's freight if you measure by weight.
30%, wow.
Yeah. Think about new cars coming from factories, retail goods heading to stores, food, energy products like coal and oil, raw materials for manufacturing. It's all moving on these rails.
So the smooth functioning of these lines is pretty essential for, well, everything.
You got it. Which is why the railroads are painting a pretty rosy picture here.
What's their vision? What are they promising with this merger?
Well, Union Pacific's CEO, Jim Vena, called it the next step in advancing the industry. The promise is seamless hauling.
Seamless hauling, meaning?
Meaning like steel could go straight from Pittsburgh to Colton, California, or tomato paste from Heron, California, all the way to Fremont, Ohio. No switching carriers.
Okay.
And they list other things too. Lumber, plastics, copper, soda ash, all potentially moving more smoothly on this one integrated network.
That sounds efficient. But, big mergers always raise eyebrows. What are the concerns? What are the critics saying?
Right, and there are definitely concerns. You've got rail customers, logistics experts, they're worried. And Warner, a consultant, pointed out that past mergers often led to, and I'm quoting roughly here, no improvement in, or worse, service and higher rates.
Worse service and higher rates. That doesn't sound good.
No. And Peter Swan, he's an emeritus professor who studies the stuff, basically confirms it. He says service suffered after every single major rail merger in the past. Every one.
That's a pretty stark warning from history, isn't it? Why are shippers so worried? Especially those who might only have one railroad option serving their facility.
Well, that's the heart of it. If you only have one rail provider, a merger doesn't give you more options. It just potentially changes who owns that single option. You're captive.
Yeah.
And your rates could go up, your service could decline, and you don't have much leverage. But Professor Swan adds another layer of, let's say, nuance here.
Okay.
He questions how much truly seamless coast-to-coast traffic there really is. He points out that very few shipping containers actually go all the way from one coast to the other without stopping.
So trains still need to stop, drop off cars, pick up new ones. It's not just one long train from LA to NY.
Exactly. Trains will still have multiple destinations. So the question becomes, how much real efficiency gain will there be across the board versus, say, for very specific long-haul commodity routes?
Interesting. So we have this promise of efficiency, but these serious historical concerns and practical questions.
Yeah.
What happens next? This can't just happen overnight.
No, definitely not. There are major regulatory hurdles. Antitrust regulators will look at it, obviously.
Yep.
And crucially, the Surface Transportation Board, the STB, they have the main say over rail mergers.
The STB. Have they dealt with something like this recently?
They have, actually. In 2023, they approved the Canadian Pacific purchase of Kansas City Southern. That was also what they call an end-to-end merger.
Meaning the routes didn't really overlap.
Right. CP was mostly north-south, KCS added reach further south. And a key reason for approval was that lack of direct overlap, reducing concerns about lost competition on specific routes. That's similar here, UP in the west, NS in the east. They connect, but don't really compete head-to-head in the same regions.
So that precedent could help this deal get approved.
It could. But here's the bigger picture thought. If this merger goes through, what does that do to the other big players?
You mean Burlington Northern, Santa Fe, and CSX?
Exactly. BNSF in the west, CSX in the east. If UP and NS combine, the pressure on BNSF and CSX to potentially do the same thing to compete, well, it becomes immense.
So we could go from 4 giant railroads down to just 2, covering the entire country, east to west.
That's the potential long-term outcome people are starting to talk about. A massive consolidation.
Wow. Okay, so summing this up, we have this massive deal promising unprecedented efficiency in moving goods across the country, which sounds great for supply chains potentially.
The promise, yes.
But then you have this history, this track record after mergers of service problems, higher rates, and real worries from shippers. Plus, the looming possibility of even more consolidation down the road.
It puts it all in tension, definitely.
So, as we watch this unfold, and it will take months, maybe years, the big question for you, the listener, is what does this trend mean? These mega mergers in absolutely critical infrastructure like railroads, what does it signal for our supply chains, for competition, and ultimately for the prices you pay and the goods you rely on? Something to keep a close eye on.